Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the epic story of Rome, a city that shaped our world for nearly 3,000 years. So how did a tiny cluster of villages become this global empire? And, maybe more importantly, how is that incredible past shaping its fight for the future?
You know, the story of Rome doesn't start with a map or a plan. It starts with a myth. You've probably heard it, right? The tale of twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. They were supposedly the sons of a Vestal virgin and the god of war, Mars. They were cast adrift on a river to die, but in this incredible twist of fate, they're saved and raised by a she-wolf.
So this incredible legend gets you thinking, doesn't it? It raises this huge question about just endurance. From ancient emperors to modern-day crises, what does it really take to be the eternal city?
All right, so let's get into it. How on earth did Rome make that incredible jump from a few humble hilltop villages into, well, the most powerful and influential empire in the ancient world?
Now, this didn't happen overnight, not by a long shot. Rome's story is all about evolution. You know, first they had kings, then they did something truly revolutionary. They created a republic way back in 510 BCE. And that republic? It lasted for almost 500 years before, you guessed it, the empire rose up and basically changed the course of Western history forever.
But here's the thing. Rome's dominance wasn't just about swords and sandals. Not at all. It was built on a foundation of some seriously groundbreaking ideas. They were pioneers in government, giving power to citizens and officials instead of just one king. Their engineering? I mean, come on, it was legendary. We're talking aqueducts and roads that still exist today. They set up a formal legal code for everyone. And yeah, okay, they backed it all up with an incredibly tough, adaptable army.
And this number, it just blows my mind. It shows you the sheer scale of what they achieved. At its absolute peak under Emperor Trajan, the Roman Empire covered 6.5 million square miles. We're talking from Scotland all the way to Mesopotamia. The world had just never seen anything like it before.
But you know, having that much history, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Let's fast forward to today and see how this incredible blessing is also a massive challenge for modern Rome.
Okay, so let's picture ancient Rome. It was the biggest city on the planet. At its peak, you've got this bustling, chaotic, amazing hub of about 1 million people.
But that is nothing compared to the crowds today. Get this, in 2024 alone, the city had over 22 million tourists. And that's not people who live there. That's just visitors, all flocking to see the very same historic spots.
This huge flood of people, what we call over-tourism, it puts this unbelievable strain on the city's ancient treasures. As one cultural expert, Tommaso Montanari, put it, the heritage is literally being consumed by its own popularity.
And that creates this real tension, right? Back in the day, places like the Colosseum or the Pantheon weren't tourist sites. They were the heart of city life. But today, they're massive attractions. And they're being threatened by their own fame. Everything from tourists carving their names into the stone to just the sheer wear and tear of millions and millions of footsteps every year.
And look, the pressure on Rome is about way more than just tourism. The city's dealing with a whole bunch of 21st century problems that, let's be honest, its ancient foundations were never built to handle. So to survive all this, modern Rome has to develop something called urban resilience. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. It's just a city's ability to handle, well, everything. Not just the sudden disasters, those are called acute shocks, but also the slow, grinding, everyday problems, which are known as chronic stresses.
And Rome is really facing threats from both sides. You've got the sudden shocks on one hand, like earthquakes or the river flooding, and on the other, you have those constant, draining stresses. We're talking aging infrastructure, public transport that can't keep up, and pollution.
Climate change is a huge one, and it's getting worse. Let's talk about flooding. Right now, more than 250,000 people in Rome live in high-risk zones along the Tiber River. That's a massive number, and it actually makes Rome one of the most vulnerable cities in all of Europe. Then there's the heat. In the summer, all that concrete and asphalt in the city's center creates these dangerous heat islands. The ground temperature can get incredibly high, and that's a serious health risk for everyone, especially older residents.
So with all these pressures, you might think Rome is just stuck, right? But no. The city isn't just trying to preserve its past. It's actively working to build a stronger, more sustainable future for the people who actually live there.
And they've got a pretty clear strategy. They're focusing on some really ambitious goals. First, they want to completely rethink the Tiber River.
Then, they need to adapt to climate change head-on. They're also working to protect their incredible heritage, the public buildings, the schools, and a big one. They want to promote what's called sustainable mobility. Basically, less traffic, more pedestrian zones, and better public transport.
And that Tiber River plan is a really big deal. For way too long, the river has kind of been cut off from the city's daily life. But now, there's a special office whose whole job is to reconnect it, to make it a central, lively part of Rome again. The idea is to turn it from a threat into a beautiful public space that everyone can enjoy.
Okay, so after this whirlwind tour through thousands of years, what's the secret? What does it actually take for a city to be eternal?
I think the big takeaway is this. Eternity isn't something you achieve and then just have. It's a constant process. It's an act of reinvention. Rome's incredible endurance has never come from staying the same. It comes from its amazing ability to change. I mean, think about it. They faced down barbarian hordes, navigated brutal civil wars, and now they're tackling climate change and over-tourism. The story of Rome is a story of constantly reinventing itself, always getting ready for its next great chapter.